You wake before the city stirs, and the hush feels heavier than silence. Unfixed problems circle like restless birds, whispering that you alone must hold the world together. Yet beneath that demand pulses honest brokenness, a quiet plea for surrender, healing, alignment, compassion, and full restoration. In this tender pre-dawn, a blush of gold edges the sky, inviting you to lay down every tool and let the God who is refuge and strength steady your heartbeat. Psalm 4:60, when God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. His nearness turns early shadows into sanctuary. So breathe deeply, let worries slide from your shoulders as dew slips from grass. Ask yourself, which fracture in your soul needs attention first? What burden heavy on your chest can you entrust to His capable hands? Now, as the horizon brightens and your heart grows still, we step into the path where new beginnings dawn. Dawn's first whisper brushes the horizon while you linger in the quiet interior of your thoughts. Noticing hairline cracks long ignored, you have plastered them over with humor, relentless work, and late night scrolling. Yet the H persists like a slow drip behind a wall. Today, instead of reaching for another mask, you name the place that hurts. Your shoulders unclench, admitting the fatigue of guarding a farce aid. Soft amber light floods the room, illuminating specks of dust that drift like tiny lanterns and reminding you that even particles can glow in morning rays. Shame warns you to retreat, but grace draws nearer, breathing, stay. Beneath every fractured edge pulses the original design, still beautiful, still recoverable. The Psalm 51 series, the sacrifice pleasing to God is a broken spirit, a contrite heart He will not despise. Heaven is not scandalized by your ruin, it is magnetized toward it. Take another breath, slower, deeper. Silence stretches, yet it does not accuse, it welcomes. Divine presence hovers like a sparrow over its nest, attentive to every tremor. Childhood memories that still sting, missteps that echo, secret doubts that tangle prayers. Nothing is dismissed. Instead, compassion wraps around you like dawn's growing warmth, coaxing you to linger rather than flee. You recall ancient potters who repaired shattered vessels with molten gold, so the fracture itself testified to survival. Imagine your life held in similar hands, cracks outlined not with shame but glory. What new story might rise if the very places you fear disqualify you became windows for light? Breathe again. Feel the question descend beneath performance metrics into sacred marrow. Brokenness is not final but truthful beginning. When roots encounter stone, they split rock to reach hidden water. Your confession works alike, opening what is hard so sustenance can seep in. Permit the spirit to probe past polite topics into raw chambers where tears once dried unseen. Resist the urge to edit. God reads every deleted sentence. 1 John 1:9. If you confess, He is faithful to forgive and cleanse. Forgiveness is rain falling freely on cracked soil, softening it for seed. Let the promise settle, you are safe enough to be unfinished. Perfectionism loosens its grip, anxiety releases its claw. In this hour, the only agenda is honesty. As sparrows begin their tentative chorus, echo them with a whisper. I am not whole, yet I am held. Notice how that admission widens your chest, how breath moves with more ease. Remember, truth spoken at dawn becomes armor against midday storms. Secrets relinquished in low light germinate into uncommon courage. The day waiting beyond your window will test this posture, yet transparency proves lighter than pretense. Even if questions stay unanswered, they no longer rot in secrecy, they wait in sunlight where answers grow. Stay here for one more heartbeat. Feel ground beneath bare feet, a reminder that dust and divinity coexist in you. The cracks are showing, yes, but they guide morning light toward hidden corridors of the soul. And light, once invited, never stops traveling. Let that certainty echo with heartbeat and birdsong alike. The honesty you voiced a moment ago loosens the hinges of your inner door, and morning's pale light slips farther inside. You notice how instinctively you reach for lists and schedules, even while your pulse still echoes last night's fatigue. Pause. Unclasp the invisible wrench you carry everywhere. Let your shoulders fall 2 breaths lower. The room itself exhales, as if grateful you have stopped demanding so much of its quiet. Think of every obligation lined up like tools on a bench. Projects, errands, conversations waiting to be repaired. One by one, you set them down. Surprisingly, nothing shatters when you release your grip. Instead, each task rests like a seed awaiting rain. You realize surrender is not neglect, but trust. A conscious handover to craftsmanship more skilled than your own. Dawn blushes deeper, painting walls the color of rose, gold promises. The Proverbs 3:5-6 trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit, and He will make your path straight. Submission here is not defeat, it is alignment, stepping onto a road already leveled by loving foresight. You picture a potter's wheel turning steadily in the background of eternity. Your life's clay rests at its center, still malleable. When you hover over the process, the vessel wobbles beneath anxious fingers. When you step back, the potter's touch centers it again. So you breathe in rhythm with the wheel. Inhale, yield, exhale, receive. Outside, a dove coos from a rooftop, underscoring the tempo of relinquishment with gentle percussion. Surrender involves more than setting aside agendas. It invites divine rearrangement. You open the window, and a mild breeze gathers your curtains like sails ready for unseen currents. Let that airflow represent ideas God may redirect, plans He may simplify, boundaries He may reinforce. You need not supervise every gust. Your role is to stay responsive, like canvas eager for wind. Even the smallest shift, responding with patience where you once rushed, becomes an act of worship. Notice how peace seeps through floorboards when you stop forecasting every outcome. Your mind, once a crowded marketplace, now resembles a shoreline at dawn, waves folding calmly over sand. Concerns still exist, but they no longer shout, they whisper, waiting for orders from a higher command. You sense fresh mercy pooling at your feet, cool as tide water. Kneel mentally and let it wash away yesterday's grit, trusting that what remains is exactly what this day requires. The sun finally clears the horizon, gilding surrendered tools with quiet glory. Commit to touching each one only after prayer, allowing guidance to determine sequence and strength. Until then, linger in the spaciousness of yielded hands. Here, every breath prays another finger from the illusion of control and positions you for the healing yet to come. Morning advances, and with it a hush that feels almost medicinal, as though the very air is laced with balm. You sit within that quiet and sense warmth pooling behind your ribs, tracing yesterday's bruises with strands of gentle fire. Where earlier you named the fracture and set aside the tools, you now allow restoring hands to move unobstructed. Imagine sunlight penetrating stained glass windows. Every hue travels farther when the glass bears a crack, refracting brilliance in unexpected angles. So it is with the hidden places of your heart. Fissures become conduits for mercy. Your pulse slows as you picture roots drawing water after a long drought. Healing rarely roars, it seeps, steady, persistent, sure. You might expect dramatic thunder, but God often chooses a therapeutic whisper, a line in a hymn, the laughter of a friend, the unexplainable calm that follows honest tears. Receive each as medicine. You are not passive, you cooperate by remaining still, by resisting the impulse to hustle past discomfort. This pause is fertile ground for transformation. Psalm 147:3, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. The verse is a promise stitched into sunrise. Every golden thread reminds you that repair is His specialty, not your side project. Permit the divine physician full access. He treats the cause, not merely symptoms. Feel tension release from jaw and spine as unspoken prayers rise like vapor. Memories you once shelved resurface, yet they arrive escorted by compassion rather than condemnation. Painful scenes may replay, but now the soundtrack shifts. Instead of shame's anthem, you hear a lullaby of acceptance. Picture a craftsman rubbing fragrant oil into weathered wood. Grain reappears, colors deepen, scars turn to stories. Your soul mirrors that timber, strengthened, beautified, never erased. Consider how the body heals clotting, knitting, remodeling. The spirit follows a similar pattern. First, God stops the bleeding of self-reproach. Next, He sutures identity with truth. Then over time, He reshapes perspective so the wound adds resilience. Each phase demands patience. You will have days when stitches tug and others when new skin tingles with possibility. Trust the timeline embedded in grace. Outside, finches scatter across a budding tree, proof that life resumes after winter. Let their song remind you that wholeness leads somewhere. It prepares you for flight. Inhale the scent of morning blossoms, evidence that healing carries fragrance. Exhale stale regret. Notice how breath itself becomes prayer, how oxygen and spirit collaborate to oxygenate hope. Questions still linger. Will scars remain? Will weakness return? They might, but neither will rule you. Touch the place that throbbed moments ago. Sense a quieter rhythm. Thank the one who knew every thread of pain before you spoke it. Gratitude is the final stitch, pulling edges together with gold. The clock on the wall advances, yet feels unhurried, mirroring your new cadence. What begins in quiet chambers will influence how you speak, decide, and react today. Let that prospect thrill you rather than intimidate. A mended vessel can hold warmth without leaking. Soon, others will taste the overflow. For now, stay within this sacred operating room a breath longer, accepting inner radiance as legitimate reality. Light has entered, restoration is underway, and you are already more whole than when dawn first whispered your name. The sun climbs higher, pouring crystalline light across your walls, and you sense a subtle recalibration inside, like a compass needle finally freed from magnetic clutter. Healing has softened scarred places. Now alignment invites every motive, thought, and breath to pivot toward true north. Imagine a chorus warming up. Each voice tests its range until harmony emerges. Your spirit, body, and mind rehearse likewise, tuning to the quiet cadence of heaven. Begin by noticing rhythm, the pulse in your wrist, the soft inhale of dawn air, the measured swing of a clock hand, all mark time. Yet divine tempo runs deeper, beckoning you to walk unhurried. You picture ancient prophets listening for a still small voice, discerning instructions not in earthquakes but in whisper. So you silence internal chatter, letting external noises fade into a single spacious note. Nothing urgent lives here, only presence. Thus Colossians 3:15, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace. Peace is not decor, it is governance, an internal throne from which every decision flows. With will surrendered, you invite spiritual gravity to anchor volatile emotions. When irritation flares, you choose patience. When anxiety taps, you lean into trust. Alignment is less about dramatic gestures and more about micro adjustments, meeting an interruption with grace, answering cynicism with hope, pausing to breathe before replying. Each tiny pivot threads you to the larger tapestry God is weaving. Picture a river meeting a rock. Rather than halting, water curves, crafting smooth pathways over time. Your soul mirrors that current. Obstacles still appear, deadlines, disappointments, abrupt requests, but alignment teaches you to bend rather than shatter, flowing in wisdom's arc. You feel tension ease across your shoulders as you grant today permission to look different from your outline. This flexibility is not weakness. It is partnership with a designer whose vantage spans eternity. Outside, gusts rustle the treetop canopy, yet leaves abide in branch, given order. You, too, remain rooted while responsive. Consider how birds navigate invisible wind corridors, adjusting wings to subtle shifts. In similar fashion, you attune to spirit nudges, a prompt to call someone, a caution before reacting, an inspiration during mundane tasks. These impressions rarely shout, yet obedience amplifies them into melody. To embody alignment, you practice sacred pauses throughout the day. Before opening email, you whisper, "Wide my words." Before entering a meeting, you breathe, "Anchor my presence." Before scrolling headlines, you ask, "Filter what shapes my outlook." Each pause is a hinge on which doors of blessing swing wide. Gradually, the divide between devotional time and ordinary time dissolves. Every moment becomes sanctuary. Feel gratitude unfurl for this recalibrated state. You move from fragmented striving to integrated living, where purpose syncs with power, vision with virtue. Light streams through the window, illuminating dust motes, tiny reminders that even particles align with sunbeams when rays break through. Smile at the thought. If God orders specks of gold in air, surely He directs your steps. Carry this harmony forward. When midday clamor tempts you to revert to self-management, recall the quiet pulse of alignment. Let peace arbitrate every conflicting desire, and you will navigate complex terrain with the steadiness of dawn itself. Overflow swells within you like morning tide advancing across a gleaming shoreline. Because wounds have been mended and rhythm restored, the space once crowded by fear now brims with vibrant mercy. You sense it first as quiet warmth behind the sternum, then as lively current racing through veins, urging you outward. The light that entered your cracks does not remain contained. It presses against edges, seeking release the way dawn's gold spills over rooftops. You recognize this stirring as compassion, a healing force that refuses to stay private, ready to translate grace into tangible kindness before the sun reaches its zenith. You picture an earthen pitcher beneath a spring. Water rises until surface tension dumbs above the rim, then cascades in shimmering ribbons that irrigate thirsty ground. The pitcher never strains to give. It simply cannot hold more than the source keeps pouring. Your heart resembles that vessel. You need not force empathy. You simply stay open to the flow, and kindness will stream unbidden into conversations, errands, and even the silent glances shared with strangers at crosswalks. Where once criticism lingered, gentleness now speaks first, softening edges of every exchange. Compassion changes how you see crowds on a morning commute. Faces formerly dismissed as background noise become living stories, each carrying unseen battles, private victories, fragile dreams. The barista whose hands tremble slightly while steaming milk, the co-worker who masks exhaustion with loud humor, the neighbor whose porch light burned all night. Suddenly they matter as vividly as headlines. You feel curiosity bloom. What kindness might lift their burden by a single feather's weight? Words form in your mind, small and sincere. I notice you. Take my seat. How can today feel lighter? These phrases cost little breath, yet they echo long after they land. Overflow also informs your boundaries, for compassion without wisdom can flood harmful corridors. You learn to serve from strength rather than compulsion, to say yes only when peace accompanies the offer. Even rivers carve disciplined channels, so they nourish rather than erode. You ask discerning questions before intervening. Will this action empower growth or foster dependency? Does it honor both dignity and need? Guided by quiet peace, you pour deliberately, shaping rivulets that refresh without washing away self. Respect or time reserved for solitude. Moments may arise when generosity costs energy you fear to spare. Remember, the spring still feeds your pitcher. Step aside, breathe, receive anew. Compassion thrives when replenished, not when forced. A single mindful inhale can reconnect you to the source that never falters. Then you re-enter dialogue bright-eyed, carrying reservoirs of patience no schedule can deplete. Your presence itself becomes a soft lamp in hectic corridors, illuminating paths others struggle to see. As sunlight climbs to mid-morning brilliance, notice how colors sharpen. Likewise, love expressed clarifies purpose. Acts of mercy reveal why your soul was mended, not merely for personal relief, but for communal flourishing. Each smile you exchange, each burden you quietly lift, echoes the larger design. Hearts restored so the world can repair. Hold that truth gently yet firmly. It will guide the next steps of your pilgrimage toward broad daylight. Mid-morning light now crowns rooftops and spills across streets humming with life. And you step into that brightness carrying the quiet furnace lit within you. The workbench of the world stretches vast, systems cracked, hearts weary, neighborhoods frayed. But you no longer approach it as lone repairer. Compassion overflows through calibrated thought and healed spirit, guiding your hands with humble precision. You notice opportunities the hurried miss, a colleague's whispered doubt, litter on a sidewalk, policy conversations that shape futures. Each is a stitch waiting for thread. You thread kindness, patience, and hard truth when needed, remembering that real restoration requires both tenderness and courage. You begin with listening, Restored ears catch subtle tremors beneath confident tones. Restored eyes discern value where society sees none. A simple, tell me more, loosens knots of isolation, and dialogue becomes soil where possibility roots. When solutions arise, you resist spotlight desire. Your aim is collective wholeness, not applause. You value small moves, recycling a bottle, mentoring a student, advocating for fairness in a meeting, because you understand ecosystems are healed by many steady drops rather than one tidal wave. Your presence also exposes false savior impulses. You remember surrender's lesson. You are conduit, not source. Outcomes belong to hands wiser than yours. Thus, you labor diligently yet release results. This paradox frees energy. You can volunteer late, then rest deeply, trusting what remains unfinished will be met by another willing heart tomorrow. Joy grows wild in such trust, and observers catch its fragrance, wondering why weariness does not cling to you. You share the secret freely. When God repairs a soul, overflow becomes renewable fuel. Restoration often means confrontation, naming injustice, disrupting harmful patterns, resisting cynicism. You step into these spaces clothed in peace, speaking truth without contempt, because alignment taught you rage cannot produce enduring renewal. You address systems with clarity and proposals, but also with intercession, planting prayer beneath every policy memo. Where some wield influence like a hammer, you wield it like a gardening spade, turning earth so buried seeds of dignity can breathe. As afternoon shadows shorten, you sense the same sacred pulse that thrummed in dawn's silence, beating in city noises. This continuity reminds you that communion never ended when the devotion concluded. It simply moved outdoors. Every heartbeat remains a prayer, every task an altar, every interaction a fresh chance for repair. Even setbacks, plans delayed, efforts misunderstood, become compost enriching future growth when surrendered quickly. Imagine nightfall hours from now. Lights flicker on across homes, a mosaic of ordinary sanctuaries. You will look back and recall countless micro acts, some visible, some unseen, that nudge the day toward health. Yet you will also feel satisfied gaps, places still fractured. They are invitations for tomorrow, not verdicts of failure. You smile, grateful your rebuilt soul can rise again with sunrise, ready to join the ongoing mending. Carry this vision forward, the world restored in increments by hearts first restored within. Walk home under skies still glowing with morning's promise, confident that every humble deed, aligned motive, and compassionate glance has already woven into a larger tapestry of joy. Light once invited keeps traveling, and so will you. Let today's journey linger. You admitted the fracture, surrendered striving, let healing flow, aligned every breath, and poured compassion until streets shone brighter. Hold a final breath, feeling steady heartbeat echo purpose. Picture tomorrow's horizon already warming, waiting for renewed partnership in quiet repair. Whisper gratitude for strength given and release what remains unfinished into capable hands. Then close your eyes a moment longer. Let silence settle over thoughts like dew on fields, trusting dawn's promise will return.